there's one gentleman who was signed up by Manchester United at age 14, is perhaps the most decorated, definitely one of the most decorated footballers of all time, Ryan Giggs. And the other, 3 years, just 3 more years add to that, decides to go to Wimbledon, stun the world, and win the trophy. We are actually talking about two of the greatest legends that modern sport has produced, Boris Becker and Ryan Giggs. Royal Stag, barrel select, perfect strokes. This is actually the most perfect combination that you can possibly have in India. Thank you for coming to India. Boris, thank you for coming, Ryan. I'll start with you, Boris. At 17, you're still a teenager. In India, you wouldn't have been allowed to vote, not to drink, not to party. Yes, you can, but not so officially. And you decide to go and win Wimbledon.
Well, same in Germany. I wasn't allowed to drive and to drink and to go out, but I did turn professional at 16. So in my very first professional tournament at Wimbledon 1984, I went through the qualifying and I reached the 3rd round and I broke my ankle. They had to carry me off the court. So my very first experience as a professional was actually a bad one. And then 12 months fast forward, I had a pretty good season by then. Through the tennis insiders and tennis connoisseurs, they knew that I was talented and I was good. I was already 20 in the world at 17. I entered Wimbledon having won the Queen's Club tournament before, the sort of the grass court warm-up. And then Johan Kriek made this famous quote after he lost to me in the final Queens. He said, if this guy plays anywhere close to what he's done today, he's going to win Wimbledon. The whole room laughed. He put some money on me. I made him some money 2 weeks later. He still haven't paid me out though. And so goes the story.
Fabulous. Coming from a sporting family, and then does that help to reach perfection? 1. And 2, the legacy of Manchester United, becoming a legend, when you actually were signed up. I mean, can you tell me or talk us through that journey a little bit?
Well, I think having a father who was a sportsman, I got a sort of insight into what it takes, going to training, watching games every week. So I got an insight, even though it was a different sport, on how to become a professional sportsman. Signing for Manchester United was, for me, a Man United fan, was huge. Actually, 2 years previously, I'd been at Manchester City. Yeah. I'd been at Manchester City Centre of Excellence. My coach for my youth team was a Manchester City scout. So he took all the best players to Manchester City, but my dream was to play for Manchester United. I actually used to go and train at Manchester City with my red shirt on, and they used to make me take it off.
That's dangerous.
No, it wasn't the Man United shirt. It was actually just a red T-shirt. Okay. But I would walk in, they say, no, get that off. So, and then 2 years later, yeah, Sir Alex Ferguson come to my house at 14, and I signed schoolboy forms for Manchester United.
If anybody wants to know why he was asked to take the red shirt off, please go to Manchester once on the day of the derby. Wear a red shirt or a blue shirt, and then just go and sit in the other supporters' box. If you do not get beaten, we will pay you what these guys actually get for their appearances. Okay, but before I move on, Boris, your memory of Ryan Giggs. How do you remember Ryan Giggs? Was he an inspiration? Did you follow football? And I ask you the same. Did you watch Boris Becker win Wimbledon in 85, 86?
Well, I'm a big football fan. I was, funny enough, on the board of directors of Bayern Munich. And in a very famous Champions League final, where Ryan was part of it, in '99 in Barcelona, Man United played Bayern, and Bayern was leading 1-0 in the extra time, and I was supposed to give the trophy to Bayern Munich after they won. So I took the lift with Franz Beckenbauer. By the time I arrived down in the lift, Man United 1-1. And I looked at the scoreline, I saw the Bayern Munich players laying down, and I asked Franz Beckenbauer, Kaiser, what just happened? We missed 2 goals. So that was a bad memory of you, Ryan. You played awfully well. No, but I remember him being always relentless. You seem to have extra wheels. You seem to be always a bit quicker than the opposition, and you always had that smell for, if possible, I can score as well. You were not just a winger. You were sort of a winger scorer, and then I remember you being pretty much injury-free. You've been playing all the time. And I think that's the most difficult thing to do for a sportsman, is to play for that many years. And obviously with your presence, Man United beat Bayern Munich way too often, but that's another story.
Your Did you watch Wimbledon at that point?
Yeah, I was a big sports fan, so I think everyone growing up who's a sports fan used to watch the Wimbledon final. I used to watch the Wimbledon tournament, but sat down Sunday afternoon, watched the final, and of course watching Boris. And I remember two things really. It was, and this is actually a compliment, but watching him play was boring because his serve was that good. His serve that they couldn't get back. Every other serve was like an ace. So it was like, well, if he serves well, then he's going to win. It's as simple as that. But obviously with the volleys, the diving around was great because I'd never really seen that before, you know, never giving up. And also the celebration at the end, the scream at the end. They're the two things that I remember, his serve and the scream at the end. But it was fantastic what he achieved. And even more fantastic what I've heard today is what Boris has just said, the year before he broke his ankle. So after that disappointment, to come back and to win it at 17 is unbelievable.
You know, he's so right, Ryan, there. I mean, I remember as a young kid watching tennis, Boris Becker was a fresh air, a breath of fresh air, diving around. We'd never seen anything like that. All of us were instant Boris Becker fans. Well, there's so many similarities between the two of you in terms of winning, legends, etc. But one dissimilarity is you play an individual sport, you play a team sport. Can you tell me, I mean, Boris, can you talk about playing an individual sport and how difficult it is at times, or in terms of the pressure that you handle? Because ultimately, yes, you have a coach, and I'll come to the coaching part, both of you have done that. But when you're in that little cocoon of yours, Grand Slam final, semi-final, expectations of the world, and you've got to deal with it as a 17, 18-year-old, or even later. And Ryan, same, as a pressure man, maybe not everybody is as talented as you, even for Wales, as Manchester United player. Talk to me about playing a team sport where not everybody is a Ryan Giggs. Boris first?
I was a tennis player and I was a footballer. I was in the football team and I thought I was good and everything, and I was striker, you know, trying to hit the goals, but it would always drive me mad if the goalkeeper or defender had a bad day and I would score 1 and we'd lose 2-1. So I always felt, you know, if I'm getting involved in a sport, I like to be responsible for everything. You know, the winning and then the losing. I can't blame nobody else but me. So my natural instinct draw me towards tennis, where yes, the pressure is higher. Yes, I have to do everything. I have to win the first point, the last point. Even if I'm 2 sets to love up, I cannot tell the manager my leg's hurting and the team still wins. In other sports you can do that. So, but it felt more natural to me to be more in control of my own destiny. You know, when I watch football games today, and you have, you know, the best striking offense, and they're playing well everything, and the goalkeeper and the defender just don't add up to par, and the team loses. It drives me crazy today with my favorite team.
When you're having a bad day, then your teammates can bail you out. You know, if you're having a bad day, you've missed a couple of goals, then a teammate can sometimes bail you out. The opposite to that is you're playing really well, the best you can play, and your teammates letting you down. So that can be frustrating. But yeah, it is totally different. I mean, you have to look after yourself. So you are an individual sportsman, really. So you have to look out that you sleep well, that you eat well, that you're fit, that you train well. But ultimately, it's a team sport. So you can't do without your teammates. So you need them to perform as well as you perform.
Coming to coaching, because this is one thing that, you know, both of you have done at the highest level. Look, in India, we have almost this notion that a legendary player not always will become a great coach. You've sort of coached Novak for a period. You've coached as well. Can you tell me, I mean, coaching a real star, I mean, who's sort of winning everything at his peak, how daunting is that, if at all? I mean, you don't need to train somebody for basics, because he's already a legend. How is it coaching a real superstar? Can you take us into the mindset of the coach and the mindset of your student?
Well, I think the difficult part is when you were a successful athlete in your own field, when you've been number 1 and won titles, is it has to be about you. You know, you have to be the center of importance, otherwise you wouldn't achieve the performance. Now, as a coach, that's the opposite. It's not about you, but the team or the player you're coaching. So I think right after my playing career, I would have been a bad coach because I still thought it was about me and not about Novak Djokovic. Only 10 years later, or more later, I'm able to be mature enough to think about him and not me when we're in Melbourne or Wimbledon.
When you're coaching, you're looking after different individuals, different characters, who needs shouting at, who needs an arm around them. So you have to weigh up really what is good for the individual who you're helping. And it's more often than not, like Boris just said, when they're having a bad day. When they're having a good day, then you can just leave them. You can, they're playing well, the confidence is high. When they're having a bad day, then you can see something that they don't. And also, I've been there. I know how they feel if they're having a bad time. And especially with young players, they haven't got that base to fall back upon. So you tap into your own experiences and just slowly just try and build that confidence back up. And it could be just simple things, going back to basics. It could be just a chat. It could be just simply saying, I was there where you was, because they think it's the end of the world. No one has experienced what I'm experiencing. So it's really a balancing act when you're a coach, and it is completely different from playing.
When you have to deal with a serious ego, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, egos are good. All the best players have got some sort of ego, and also bust-ups can be good. Clear the air. You don't always put an arm around someone or tell them how great they are. Sometimes they need telling. Sometimes they need the truth. And for me as a player and as a coach, I was never afraid to tell someone. So it's just about handling the individual and handling the situation. But as long as you get the right outcome, then it doesn't matter how you get there.
How do you define a perfect coach? Can there be a perfect coach?
Well, Novak naturally also has a big character, naturally knows how to hit the tennis ball, but he has his moments when he just does the wrong things, and it takes my sensitivity or my knowledge of him as a man and as a player to know when to tell him what. I think that's very important as a coach. There are moments when you can talk to a player, and there are more moments when you have to shut up. Part of it is also knowing when to shut up. And I was lucky in a way because he was very driven. He really wanted to work. He really wanted to win. He wanted to learn. He wanted to know how we played in the 80s and 90s and what we've done. So then it's easier for a coach if a player wants to learn. The difficult part is once he starts winning, like any other player, he gets complacent. So how do you keep the speech up? How do you keep on inspiring him? How you keep him on his toes? What type of language you use? And that was the most difficult part, is because he's played in a year 85, 90 matches. So before every single match, I would have a chat with him, and pretty much every day. And obviously, I have to say something different today than when I said yesterday. And after 60, 70 matches, I really have to think hard sometimes what I'm going to tell him now.
Sort of completely moving track. If we have followed the careers of these two legends, Boris Becker, 17, winning Wimbledon, and then right up to the middle of the 1990s, poster boy, glamour boy, paparazzi chasing him, Ryan Giggs, same for English football. How do you handle that adulation? Women, paparazzi, media, suddenly you have money, fame, 17-year-old cannot ever dream of, you have a contract, you have everybody falling at your feet. How do you deal with that aspect of sport?
For me, 17, 18, 2 years out of school, suddenly I've got photographers chasing me. Suddenly I've got photographers outside the house. And how do you handle it? Well, you have to handle it. You have to handle it somehow, whether it's help from your teammates or basically concentrate on your job, concentrate on your sport, because if you're not doing your sport, then a year later they won't be interested in you because you won't be performing on the pitch. So that was always the main focus, making sure that, okay, the boot contracts, the other sponsors are all great, but on the pitch is where you earn your living, and that comes first.
Boris?
Well, there isn't a book how to handle fame and fortune when you get it at 17. You learn by trial and error. You do some good things, you do some things that you're not proud of, and there's really nobody that can tell you exactly what you have to do.
The way both of these sports have actually evolved, I mean, tennis from the mid-80s, football from the mid-80s, suddenly you're always celebrities of the highest order. I mean, sportsmen also celebrities, and celebrities perhaps maybe the top 10 icons of the world. When you play team sport, 11 players, there's one Ryan Giggs who has 20 contracts, which 10 others don't. Is that a problem in the dressing room? Was that ever an issue? How do you deal with your rest of the teammates? Did the club look at you differently? Can you give us an insight?
No, it was, again, if you're doing it on the pitch, if you're scoring goals, then you can have as many contracts as you want, and your teammates can have as many contracts as they want. You can have as many sponsorship deals as long as you're doing it on the pitch. When you start not doing it on the pitch, then you start getting questioned. What was you doing yesterday? Was you doing a photo shoot? Was you here, there and everywhere doing some stuff for your sponsors? Then that's when it becomes a problem. But I never like the word, especially for sportsmen, celebrities. We're sportsmen, we're not celebrities. I always said that I never wanted to become famous. I just wanted to be successful. But unfortunately, it comes with the territory, so you have to deal with it.
Boris, I mean, oftentimes we see players becoming institutions in themselves. Somebody like you, somebody like Roger. Did you have run-ins with the establishment? Did you have your bad days when you think, okay, everything else that is being thrown at me is unfair? Were you a rebel at any point in time in your life?
I think I'm known to do things in a different way than most others. It's part of my character, it's part of my heritage, otherwise I wouldn't have won at 17. And I'm quite strong-willed, and I'm quite passionate about my beliefs. I don't mean, to know it all, far from it, but I know who I am. And I find the world we live in these days fascinating, because you mentioned celebrities. For what? They're celebrities for being famous. And as you put it, you're famous because you're one of the best players of all time. And I'm famous because I hit a ball or two over the net than the other guy. I think that should be the core, the fundament. And so I'm applauding a Roger Federer. I'm applauding a Usain Bolt. I'm applauding a Messi or Ronaldo, because they're the greatest at what they do. Yes, they should be rich and famous. Many others that haven't done anything, I question sometimes.
It's the Seagram's Royal Stag Barrel Select Perfect Strokes evening. So I'll have to do a quick round of perfect questions with both of them. I'll start with you, Ryan. The perfect sporting upset in football that you are proud of, remember, an upset of humongous proportions.
Ooh, that's a good question.
You don't have too much time.
I think Wimbledon. When Wimbledon, the football team, beat Liverpool in the FA Cup final. Liverpool were the top of the tree at the time. Wimbledon had come from non-league and were there winning the FA Cup at Wembley.
And Wales coming from behind and sort of making it to the quarters of Euro, will that come close?
Yeah, because no one expected that.
Correct.
And especially 50 years not in a major championships, they surprised everyone.
Okay. But
and I remember the Wimbledon one, because I had a documentary. I live in Wimbledon, so I'm very fond of the club, AFC. So they had a nice documentary, because last year it was anniversary. It was the 20 or 30 years since something, or more, even more. And it was a wonderful story where, you have this great club, and then these guys, they had a day job, and then they played some football at night. So an unbelievable story.
The perfect sporting moment that you will forever remember.
Perfect sporting moment. These are good questions. Well done. The perfect... I can't say Man United beating Bayern Munich, can't I? I can't.
Yeah, you can. Rub it in. That's the whole
I won't
point
say
of
that. I
making
won't
it.
say that. No, I think for me, Usain Bolt. To be the quickest man on the planet, to see that it lasts 9 seconds, under 9 seconds, to see him in full flow, and to be in my lifetime is probably where I would want to be.
Wow. The perfect sportswoman.
Sportswoman.
Woman.
Oh, these are
Buzzer,
tough questions.
bang.
Yeah, I think probably Boris's sport, Serena Williams.
Okay, two more. The perfect sporting disappointment, if I can say, you were set to win and it didn't happen to you. I mean, the world comes crashing down. Anything like that.
Getting beat off Barcelona in the Champions League final. The first time in Rome. The biggest disappointment in my career.
The perfect coach.
The perfect coach, Sir Alex Ferguson.
And the perfect moment that Ryan Giggs has not yet achieved in his life.
Not
yet. What do you want? Anything.
Not yet. To be a successful manager, I would say.
And win something?
And win something. Well, I'd be successful if I won something. So it's the next best thing to be. You'll never be a player, but the next best thing is to coach or to be a manager.
Yeah, when I said win something, is any particular trophy? Champions League?
No, win the Premier League.
In the Premier League. Okay, Boris, I'll ask the perfect sportswoman also to you.
Well, that one is quick. My country girl, Steffi Graf. I thought she was excellent.
The perfect sportsman who has kept his head. The perfect role model, let's put it that way.
The way it goes for the moment, Roger Federer.
Your perfect footballing moment. Give me a Ryan Giggs moment if you want.
I was in that stadium, and I'm not going to mention that moment. The perfect moment when Bayern Munich 2 years later won the Champions League in a penalty shootout. Because, you know, we were the same group. They were in Barcelona. All of us suffering for 2 years and coming back. That was, for me, the perfect football moment.
The perfect stroke that you've ever hit. That one that is etched in your memory forever.
When I had match point against Ivan Lendl at the Masters in New York in 1988, we had a rally of 37 shots, and I won it with a net court. That was the perfect point.
And for you, the perfect coach, if any, at this point in time?
My perfect coach was, and became a manager after, was Jon Tiriak, who coached me when I was 16, 17, 18, for over 10 years. Then we were so successfully became a manager from a coach. It's funny.
And the last question has to be your perfect match that cannot be bettered. If it's a straight set match or a 5-set match or a match that is forever etched as the perfect match that you've played in your career.
I think when Germany won Davis Cup against Sweden, and I was in the last match, and I played against then the number 1 player in the world, Mats Wilander, and I gave him 5 games over 3 sets. That was pretty good.
He says that was pretty good. We say it was damn pretty good. On that note, 24 years at the top of international football, one of the most decorated players of all time, a Manchester United legend, a footballing legend, a sporting legend that all of us in India have tremendous respect and adulation for, and the other, one of our greatest sporting icons of all time. As a tennis player, we've all watched, we've all jumped, we've all cried, we've all shouted for Boris Becker. Please put your hands together for Boris Becker and Ryan Giggs. Thank you, Seagram's, Royal Stag, Barrel Select, Perfect Strokes for making this possible, and thanks for watching.